You fucking come out, I'm gonna shoot you. Don't come out. Do not come out.
It's a fucking car, don't lose your life, dumbass.
Do not lose your life over a fucking car.
Today's episode is what would you do and why or why not? Let's get into it. All right, this video has been going around, I think, for a minute. It's got millions of views on multiple accounts or whatever. And this is a tough situation, and you can kind of plan for it. There's a lot of things that you can do, but just taking a look at this, I don't know what the situation is as far as time of day or anything like that, but just check it out. This is tough. Let's go.
Don't fucking come out. You fucking come out, I'm gonna shoot you. Don't come out. Do not come out.
It's a fucking car, don't lose your life, dumbass.
Do not lose your life over a fucking car. Do not lose your life over a fucking car.
So yeah, that's enough to get you hot, heated. I mean, we all work for our stuff, man, and you get to a point where you get what you want. Main man's got a couple of vehicles in the driveway. Looks like white is his color. No patrol. Yeah, that's tough. And so you got to start from what are you even able to do? And that's why I say you have to think of this stuff ahead of time, because if you don't, this moment is going to be full of emotion. And that's what can get you in trouble. So you need to know the number one thing is you have to understand the laws in your jurisdiction off the top. Okay, you got guns in the house, that's cool. That is not the same as concealed carry. Castle doctrine could apply. Every state, most states, many states, it's just written differently in every state. And I've looked at quite a few states where some responses would be allowed, some responses would not. Okay, so before you start chiming in and hawking off in the comments about you're wrong, you're crazy, and you can do this and you can do that, that might be true in your jurisdiction. It's not true in every jurisdiction. Now, if you're willing to take it to trial and hope that the jury sides with you, that's a whole nother thing. You have to take into consideration that using deadly force against somebody, you don't come back from that. Whether you justify it or not. And again, when you do it in the heat of the moment, that's one thing. When it's over and you realize that you've taken 1, 2, or 3 lives for whatever reason, even when it's justified, man, people feel guilt, that it haunts them forever. So using deadly force is a big step, and half of the people that's always in the comments talking about, oh, I would do this and I would do that. Y'all not built for that, for real. But let's talk about it from the legal standpoint. So I've seen a lot of comments on a lot of videos about castle doctrine saying you can do that. This is on the property, but this is outside the home. You're not in the castle. Castle doctrine typically, because I have seen some laws written differently, I'll talk about it in a second. Castle doctrine typically applies to in the home, in the castle. If somebody attacks the castle, you have no duty to retreat. Some of those same states, including Maryland, which is usually going to be the one I'm most familiar with, Maryland and DC, because those are the ones I teach the most. Those same states also say you cannot protect property with deadly force. Period. Not your property, not the home, but property. You can use force to protect or repossess property, such as in DC. Especially if you catch the person in the act, things like that. They say you can use force. Does not always, after they say you can use force to protect property, it always says the level of force has to be commensurate with the threat, and you cannot use deadly force to protect property. However, a scenario where that applies is you come to protect your property. Hey, get away from my car. The person turns toward you with something that would justify deadly force. Now you're not protecting the vehicle, you're protecting yourself. So now that changes. That's how thin that line is. That's how quickly those scenarios can change. I have seen some states including North Carolina, that say you can protect your property from a forcible felony. If it's being enacted upon you, especially if you are in the car. It goes on to say you can use force to stop the person if that amount of force would stop the felony in progress. I think further down south also has similar forcible felony laws. If that's what they're committing and they're on your property, then you're allowed to use deadly force. I mean, ideally, the situation here, and another thing about using force, if people think a threat is enough to use force, that's not necessarily true. Words are not enough to use force against someone. A lot of times in some jurisdictions, words are not even enough to claim self-defense. People can say what they want. You can't just go off and steal them. You have to have a reason to have felt threatened. And maybe if they said it as they came towards you, then you hit them. You have to illustrate that. And I don't care if you don't like it. I'm just telling you what some of the laws are in certain jurisdictions. So even in this case, they say don't come out, we'll shoot you, but no one produces a gun. So, because ideally what I was going to say was, I'd just like to go to the window with a rifle and just start plucking them off. Okay, they'll be gone soon enough, but no one produces a gun. They've made a threat, but there are no weapons visible, unless you can say, I didn't take any zoomed in looks at the video or anything like that, but it doesn't look to me like any guns are visible. So they've made the threat, but I don't see any weapons. So using deadly force from the house, where you are not in imminent danger of serious bodily harm or death, unless the laws are written in your jurisdiction that you can protect your property that way, that could get you in a lot of trouble. And like I said, chime in the comments, take the emotion out. I'm just talking about how the laws are written and what you can do. To go out and say, hey, leave my car alone. If they then turn toward you with the apparent ability to carry out the threats, that's when deadly force is going to be authorized. They already threatened you, you see a gun, go. Now you're in a situation where you're using deadly force to protect yourself. Are you ready for that and what comes with it? Because even if the shoot turns out to be justified, most jurisdictions you're still going to jail, you're still going to get locked up there until they figure everything out. And then you get out, and then just about all of their families are going to sue you. So it's not over at the shooting. And then, maybe you still have the car. Maybe they put some holes in it. Maybe you put some holes in it. Maybe stray bullets from them hit your house. There's a lot to think about. That's why I say this is tough. This is a tough situation. So one of the things that I always preach in class is just preventative measures. You know you have a hot car. You know it's in an area that's accessible to the public. Everybody doesn't have driveways, garages, things like that. So what do? I mean, you do kill switches, devices to keep the vehicle from moving. Unfortunately, we got to take these measures. So, but those are the measures that you can take to avoid even having to come out. You know, a lot of people will say, it's just a car. Man, I get it. I get it. You're not taking my car. So that it's a tough one. And it's, like car guys chime in. What do you do to keep this from happening? So, what are some preventative measures that we can avoid this situation and not even have to go outside? That's the best thing. They can talk all that shit, and I can just look out the window and say, they can't take the car anyway. So that was one example. And then I saw something else. A similar, but it's not the same story, not the same scenario as this. So check this out. So I was scrolling through, and the guy Knockout 360 had a story where he was talking about it, and it's cool because he's talking about it from a car guy's perspective, and I'm always talking about this stuff from a defense perspective, self-defense, use of deadly force, things like that. But check out this story, and again, I got the story from Knockout 360, but check it out.
Out like that.
Deshaun Caples is charged with murder after police say he chased down and shot someone who stole his car. According to police, Caples grabbed his gun, got into his wife's car, and followed the driver. The driver, along with a passenger, refused to stop, and that's when police say Caples fired shots into his stolen car.
That's a whole different story. So basically, he saw the people stealing his car. They were driving off, and he jumps in his wife's car and chases them. Now you're off the property. It's not your house. You were never in imminent danger imminent danger of serious bodily harm or death, and now you are chasing someone with your vehicle. And so, of course, he grabbed his gun on the way out as well. The best thing you can do in that case, if you want to follow him, call the police, let them know you had a vehicle in sight where you are, and keep them updated. And hopefully that can come to a different situation. This guy ended up shooting the driver. The driver was a 17-year-old kid doing the wrong thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to defend him, but now you got that on your conscience. You shot a 17-year-old that was trying to steal your car, and you have your car back. Probably gonna lose your freedom and not be around for your family and kids if you have them, or whatever it is that you have going on in your life. So just wanted to present these two situations. Like I said, throw down in the comments, let me know what you guys are thinking, but you have to understand the laws in your jurisdiction. The laws do not usually automatically mean you can use deadly force. There's usually a caveat saying the level of force used still has to be equal to or match the exigency of the threat or whatever was going on. And with that being said, the Gun Brother is out. I will talk to you guys next time. Protect yourselves.